Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Aurora, watching the alien ship approach through the main screen. After 300 years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, today would finally give them an answer. The sleek silver vessel moved with perfect precision, unlike anything human engineers had ever built. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Lisa Wang, the ship's lead scientist. She had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life, and now it was floating right in front of them. The communication system crackled to life. A strange, melodic voice filled the bridge. "Greetings, unknown vessel. I am Ambassador Krell 7 of the Zephyrian Diplomatic Corps. We represent the Galactic Coalition and wish to establish peaceful contact." Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Aurora. We accept your offer of peaceful contact." Within hours, the two ships had docked together. Jake led a small team to meet the aliens in a specially prepared meeting room. When the doors opened, Jake saw his first alien beings. The Zephyrians were tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. They moved with careful, measured steps, and their large eyes showed no emotion. "Welcome," said Ambassador Krell 7. His voice was calm and steady. "We have been monitoring your species for some time. You have recently developed faster-than-light travel, which means you are ready for contact with the greater galaxy." Dr. Wang stepped forward with excitement. "This is incredible. We have so many questions. What is your home planet like? Do you have families? What do you do for fun?" The Zephyrians looked at each other with what seemed like confusion. "High Chancellor." Vex, their leader, spoke slowly. "We do not understand these questions. Our planet serves its function. We reproduce when needed. Fun is not a concept we recognize." Lisa's face showed disappointment, but she smiled anyway. "That's okay. We're just excited to meet you. Humans are naturally curious about others." "Others?" asked Krell 7. "You refer to us as if we are similar to you. We are not." Jake noticed the aliens seemed uncomfortable with Lisa's friendly manner. They stood stiffly and kept their distance. "We understand you're different from us. That's what makes this meeting so interesting." Over the next few days, the humans and Zephyrians worked together to explore a nearby planet. The aliens were impressed by human technology, but they seemed disturbed by human behavior. When the team stopped to rest, the humans shared food and told stories. The Zephyrians watched this with growing unease. "Why do you share resources unnecessarily?" asked Chancellor Vex. "Each individual should maintain their own supplies." "Because we're a team," explained Jake. "We take care of each other. It's just natural for us." The aliens exchanged glances. Lisa noticed their discomfort and tried to explain. "Humans evolved as social creatures. We survived by working together and caring for each other. It's built into who we are." "This caring," said Krell 7 slowly, "you extend it to all members of your species?" "And to other species too," Lisa said with a warm smile. "We care about you, even though we just met. We want to understand you and be friends." The Zephyrians stepped back as if Lisa had threatened them. Chancellor Vex spoke in their own language to the others, his voice sharp with alarm. The situation became worse during the exploration mission. While examining ancient ruins on the planet, a cave-in trapped crew member Danny Lopez under heavy rocks. The logical thing to do was to leave him and save the rest of the team, but Jake refused. "We're not leaving anyone behind," Jake said firmly. "Danny is one of us." "This is illogical," stated Chancellor Vex. "One life is not worth risking the entire mission. You will all die for nothing." "Then we'll die together," said Lisa, already moving rocks to free Danny. "That's what friends do." The other humans immediately joined the rescue effort. They worked for hours, ignoring the danger of more cave-ins. The Zephyrians watched in shock as the humans risked their lives for one person. Even more disturbing to them was that the humans seemed happy to do it when they finally freed Danny. He was badly injured. Dr. Wang worked to save his life while the others protected them from falling debris. Jake called for emergency transport, but the Zephyrians said it was too dangerous. "We will not risk our ship for one wounded individual," declared Chancellor Vex. Then we'll carry him, Jake replied. We'll walk back to the ships if we have to. The Zephyrians could not understand this behavior. To them, it was madness. But something else bothered them even more. As they watched the humans work together, they found themselves feeling something strange. For the first time in their long lives, they felt something like admiration. They even felt a small desire to help. This frightened them more than any weapon could have. The humans were somehow making them feel emotions they had never experienced. Ambassador Krell 7 realized with horror that the humans were changing them just by being near them. When they returned to the ships, the Zephyrians held an emergency meeting. These humans are dangerous, Krell 7 reported to his superiors. They do not conquer with weapons. They conquer with emotions. They make others want to be like them. How is this possible? Asked Chancellor Vex. I do not know, Krell 7 admitted. But I felt it myself. When I watched them save their friend, I wanted to help. I have never wanted to help another being before. They are changing us without even trying. The Zephyrians decided to end the contact immediately. They told the humans they needed to return to their own space to report the meeting. Jake was disappointed but understood. As they prepared to leave, Lisa approached Ambassador Krell 7. I hope we can be friends, she said sincerely. We would love to learn more about you and your people. Krell 7 looked at her for a long moment. Despite himself, he found her words appealing. This terrified him. Perhaps, he said carefully, but first we must understand what you are. After the Zephyrians left, Jake gathered his crew. I think that went well, he said. They seemed interested in us. They seemed scared, Lisa observed, but I'm not sure why. We were just being ourselves. Dr. Wang was right. The Zephyrians were scared, and they were about to share that fear with the entire galaxy. As their ship traveled back to Coalition space, Ambassador Krell 7 prepared his report. He would warn the Galactic Coalition about humanity's most dangerous weapon, their ability to make others care. The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was home to the Galactic Coalition, where representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to keep peace in the galaxy. Today, the Great Assembly Hall buzzed with nervous energy as species from across known space discussed the same frightening topic. Humans, Counselor Thane, a tall reptilian being with golden scales, called the emergency meeting to order. His cold yellow eyes scanned the packed chamber. We are here because of the Zephyrian report about the species called humans. Ambassador Krell 7 will present his findings. The blue-skinned Zephyrian stepped forward, his movements still precise and controlled. But those who knew him well could see the fear in his large eyes. Honored council members, I have encountered something unprecedented in our galaxy's history. The humans possess a power we have never seen before. Murmurs filled the chamber. Counselor Thane raised a scaled hand for silence. Explain this power. They can make others feel, Krell 7 said simply. They can make beings care about things they never cared about before. They can make individuals risk their lives for strangers. They can change the very nature of how we think. Elder Zix, an ancient being whose thoughts were shared by millions of his kind, spoke in a voice like whispers of wind. We have monitored human thoughts from a distance. Their minds are unlike any we have encountered. They do not think only of themselves. They think of others as if those others were part of themselves. The council chamber erupted in concerned voices. Many species had built their civilizations on logic and individual survival. The idea of beings who naturally thought of others first was terrifying to them. This is why we must bring in a human to explain their nature, announced Counselor Thane. Dr. Elena Rodriguez has been transported here from Earth to help us understand. Dr. Rodriguez entered the chamber flanked by 2 guards. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and graying hair. Unlike the other beings in the room, she seemed completely comfortable and unafraid. She looked around at the hundreds of alien faces with genuine curiosity and interest. Thank you for inviting me, she said with a warm smile. I'm excited to meet so many different species. This is like a dream come true for me. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Even facing a room full of powerful alien beings, the humans seemed genuinely happy to be there. This was exactly what they were afraid of. Dr. Rodriguez, Counselor Thane began carefully, we need to understand human psychology. Why do your people behave in ways that seem illogical to us? Elena laughed, a sound that seemed to make several aliens step back. You think we're illogical? I suppose we might seem that way. We evolved as social creatures who survived by working together. Our brains are wired to understand emotions and to feel what others feel. We call it empathy. This empathy, said Elder Zix, it allows you to manipulate others? Not manipulate, Elena corrected gently. Understand. When we understand how someone feels, we naturally want to help them feel better. It's not a choice we make, it's just who we are. An insectoid representative named Counselor Vrix clicked his mandibles nervously. But this understanding, it spreads to other species. We have reports of humans changing entire alien communities. Elena nodded. Yes, we tend to have that effect. On the mining colony at Kepler 442b, one of our engineers helped the crystalline workers organize for better conditions. But he didn't force them to do anything. He just helped them understand that they deserved better treatment. The crystallines had never protested anything in 10,000 years, Vrix said with alarm. Your engineer changed their entire culture in a few months. He helped them discover something that was already inside them, Elena explained. The desire for fair treatment exists in all thinking beings. Sometimes they just need someone to help them recognize it. General Marcus Stone, a human military officer, was brought in to address security concerns. His presence made the council even more nervous. He was a large man with scarred hands and steady eyes that seemed to see everything. General Stone, Counselor Thane said, we have reports that human military units are unusually effective not because of superior weapons, but because of their behavior. Explain this, Marcus spoke in a calm, measured voice. Human soldiers don't just fight for victory, they fight for each other. When you know your comrades will die before they abandon you, you become braver. When you care about the people you're protecting, you fight harder. It's simple. But your soldiers also show mercy to enemies, pointed out Counselor Vrix. This is tactically unsound, is it? Marcus asked. We've found that enemies who are treated with respect often become allies. We've turned more opponents into friends through kindness than we ever could through force. The Council reviewed video footage from various human encounters across the galaxy. On the desert world of Aridus, they watched Captain Ashley Turner teaching nomadic sand dwellers about permanent settlements. The sand dwellers had been wanderers for thousands of years, but after spending time with Turner, they began building their first cities. She didn't conquer them, observed Elder Zix. She didn't threaten them. She simply showed them a different way to live, and they chose to adopt. This is what frightens us, admitted Counselor Thane. Humans don't destroy cultures, they transform them. Sometimes in a single generation. Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. Is change always bad? The sand dwellers seem happy with their new cities. They're creating art and music for the first time in their history. They're not losing their culture, they're expanding it. The most disturbing report came from the war-torn planet Conflux. 2 species had been fighting there for centuries, but after human peacekeepers arrived, the conflict simply ended. Not through force, but through understanding. Commander Ryan Kelly didn't take sides, reported the Observer. He sat down with leaders from both species and helped them understand each other's perspectives. Within weeks, they were working together to rebuild their world. In 6 months, they solved a conflict that had lasted 600 years, added Counselor Vrix. How is this possible? Prime Minister Yuki Nakamura, Earth's representative to the galaxy, stood to address the council. She was a small woman with intelligent eyes and a calm manner. Honored council members, I understand your concerns. But I ask you to consider this. Every species you've described has become happier and more creative after contact with humans. Is this really something to fear? Elder Zix's voice carried a new tone of uncertainty. We have observed that human presence does increase emotional satisfaction in other species. But it also increases unpredictability. The order that has kept peace in this galaxy for millennia is being disrupted. Order isn't the same as peace, Yuki replied. True peace comes from understanding and cooperation, not from rigid control. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued that humans were a threat to galactic stability. Others wondered if humans might be the key to solving problems that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. Finally, Councillor Thane called for a break. As the council members filed out, many of them found themselves thinking about the humans in new ways. Despite their fears, they couldn't deny that every species that had encountered humans seemed to benefit from the contact. Elder Zix approached Dr. Rodriguez as she prepared to leave. Dr. Rodriguez, I must ask you something. Are you aware of? What you do to others, Elena smiled. You mean making friends? Yes, it's what humans do. We can't help but see the good in others and want to bring it out. This frightens many of us, Elder Zix admitted. I know, Elena said gently. But maybe being a little scared isn't always bad. Sometimes fear of losing something makes us appreciate it more. Maybe fear of change helps us choose the right changes. As the council reconvened, Elder Zix found himself thinking about Elena's words. For the first time in his long existence, he wondered if the rigid order of the galaxy might not be as perfect as he had always believed. The investigation was far from over, but already the council was beginning to understand that humans were not just another species to be catalogued and controlled. They were something entirely new in the galaxy's history, and their presence was forcing everyone to question everything they thought they knew about civilization itself. The Galactic Council decided they needed to see more evidence before making any decisions about humanity. Investigation teams were sent to every world where humans had made contact. What they found disturbed them more than any weapon or invasion force ever could. On the ice planet Glacialis, Security Chief Korth led his team through the frozen settlements. The insectoid officer had been chosen for his logical mind and inability to feel emotions. He was supposed to be immune to human influence, but what he saw made him question everything. The frozen ones lived the same way for 50,000 years, reported local administrator Kelks, a crystalline being whose body sparkled in the dim light. They never changed anything. They never wanted anything different. Then the humans came. Korth examined the records carefully. 3 months ago, a human trading ship had stopped at Glacialis for repairs. The crew had spent 2 weeks there while fixing their engines. Now, the entire planet was different. What exactly did the humans do? Korth asked, his compound eyes scanning the settlement data. They talked to people, Kelk said simply. They asked questions, they listened to answers. They seemed interested in our daily lives. This seemed harmless enough to Korth, but the results were anything but simple. The frozen ones had begun changing their ancient ice sculptures for the first time in centuries. They were experimenting with new foods. Some were even leaving their traditional homes to explore other parts of their planet. Captain Ashley Turner showed us that change could be good, said Elder Frost, the oldest of the frozen ones. She didn't tell us to change. She just helped us see that we could choose to change if we wanted to. Korth interviewed Captain Turner when she returned to Glacialis. She was a friendly woman with bright eyes and an easy smile. Even talking to her for a few minutes, Korth found himself feeling something he had never experienced before, curiosity about her thoughts and feelings. What did you do to these people? Korth asked, fighting against the strange sensations in his mind. Ashley looked confused. I didn't do anything to them, we just talked. I asked them about their lives, their hopes, their dreams. I guess nobody had ever asked them those questions before. But you changed their entire civilization, Korth insisted. They changed themselves, Ashley replied. I just helped them realize they had choices. Everyone has the right to choose how they want to live. The investigation team moved on to the desert world of Aridus. Here, the changes were even more dramatic. The nomadic sand dwellers had built their first permanent city in over 1,000 years. The city was beautiful, with flowing architecture that seemed to grow from the desert itself. "We never wanted to build before," explained Sand Chief Dune, his voice filled with wonder. "We thought moving was all we could do. Then human engineer Pete Collins showed us that we could create something lasting." Korth found Pete working alongside the Sand Dwellers, helping them design water systems for their new city. The human was covered in sand and sweat, but he seemed completely happy. "Why do you help them?" Korth asked. "What do you gain from this?" Pete wiped his forehead and grinned. "I gain friends. I gain the satisfaction of helping someone achieve their dreams. I gain the chance to be part of something beautiful." "But you receive no payment, no resources, no advantage?" Korth pointed out. "Sure I do," Pete said. "I get to see them happy. That's worth more than any payment." Korth's insectoid mind struggled to process this concept. In his species, everything was done for the benefit of the hive. Individual satisfaction was meaningless. But somehow, Pete's words made sense to him in a way that frightened him. The most disturbing report came from the mining colony at Kepler 442b. Here, the crystalline workers had done something unprecedented. They had organized a strike. For 10,000 years, the crystallines had accepted whatever working conditions they were given. They had never questioned authority or demanded better treatment. "Human engineer Sam Davis didn't tell us to strike," explained Crystal Speaker Bright, her faceted body reflecting the harsh industrial lights. "He just asked us if we were happy with our work, and that question changed everything?" Korth asked. "Nobody had ever asked us that before," Bright replied. "We realized we weren't happy. We realized we deserved better. Sam helped us understand that workers have rights." The strike had lasted only 3 days before the mining company agreed to improve conditions. The crystallines now had better safety, equipment, shorter work hours, and time for rest and recreation. Production had actually increased because the workers were more motivated. "This is what we fear most," Korth reported back to the council. "Humans don't conquer through force. They conquer through ideas. They plant thoughts in other beings' minds, and those thoughts grow and spread." Professor Alan Brooks, a human philosopher, was brought in to explain this phenomenon. He was an elderly man with kind eyes and a gentle manner. Even the most hostile council members found themselves listening to his words with interest. "We don't plant thoughts in anyone's mind," Professor Brooks explained. "We simply help others discover thoughts that were already there. Every thinking being wants to be happy, to be treated fairly, to have choices in their life. These desires exist naturally. We just help people recognize them." "But this recognition changes entire civilizations," argued Counselor Thane. "Yes, it does," Brooks agreed. "Because when people realize they have choices, they often choose to improve their lives. This isn't manipulation. It's liberation." The investigation teams continued their work, visiting world after world where humans had made contact. On the ocean planet Aquatica, humans had helped the sea dwellers develop new forms of underwater art. On the forest world of Verdania, they had taught the tree speakers to preserve their oral histories in written form. Everywhere they went, the pattern was the same. Humans would arrive, interact with the local population, and somehow inspire them to try new things. The changes were always voluntary, always positive, and always permanent. "The most disturbing aspect," reported Elder Zix to the full council, "is that humans seem to have this effect without trying. They are not deliberately attempting to change other species. They are simply being themselves." Ambassador Zara Kim, Earth's chief diplomat, addressed the council's concerns directly. "Honored members, I understand your worry about change. But please consider this: every species that has encountered humans has become more creative, more fulfilled, and more peaceful. Is this really something to fear? It is if it destroys the stability that has kept peace in this galaxy for millennia," replied Counselor Thane. "But has there really been peace?" Zara asked. "Or has there just been an absence of war? True peace comes from understanding and cooperation, not from rigid control." The debate continued, but the evidence was clear. Humans had a unique ability to inspire other species to grow and change. They could find common ground between enemies, motivate individuals to achieve their potential, and bring out the best in others. As the investigation concluded, the Council faced a difficult truth. Humans were not just another species to be managed or controlled. They were something entirely new in the galaxy's history, beings whose very presence made others want to become better versions of themselves. The question now was whether this gift was too dangerous to allow or too valuable to suppress. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime had never hosted a more important gathering. Representatives from every member species of the Galactic Coalition filled the massive chamber. The air hummed with tension as beings who had coexisted peacefully for centuries now faced a decision that could change everything. Speaker Vorth, a neutral species known for their fairness, called the assembly to order. His voice echoed through the hall as he announced the three options before them: integrate humanity into the galactic community, contain them to prevent further cultural disruption, or eliminate them as a threat to galactic stability. The debate began with War Chief Grax of the militant Razor Clan. He was a fierce warrior with scarred armor and burning red eyes. His species had maintained order through strength for thousands of years, and he saw humans as the greatest threat they had ever faced. Honored delegates, Grax growled, his voice filled with anger. We face an enemy more dangerous than any weapon. These humans are a virus that spreads through emotions and ideas. They will destroy everything we have built. He activated a holographic display showing human colonies across the galaxy. Look at these worlds. On every planet where humans have settled, they have attracted aliens who abandon their own cultures to live among them. Entire species are forgetting who they are. The images showed mixed communities where different alien species lived and worked together, something that had been rare before human contact. Traditional hierarchies were being replaced by more democratic systems. Ancient customs were being modified or abandoned. The crystallines have stopped following their hereditary leaders, Grax continued. The sand dwellers have given up their sacred nomadic ways. The sea dwellers are questioning their oldest traditions. This is cultural destruction. On a massive scale, murmurs of agreement rippled through parts of the assembly. Many species valued stability above all else, and the rapid changes caused by human contact frightened them. Senator Kate Morgan stood to defend humanity. She was a calm woman with intelligent eyes and a confident manner. Despite being surrounded by beings who might decide to eliminate her entire species, she showed no fear. Respected delegates, Kate began, War Chief Grax speaks of destruction, but I see growth. Yes, some species are changing their ways after meeting humans, but these changes are voluntary. No one is forcing them. She gestured to her own holographic display showing thriving alien communities. The crystallines who left their hereditary system are happier and more productive. The sand dwellers who built cities are creating beautiful art and literature. The sea dwellers who question their traditions have developed new technologies that benefit everyone. Kate's voice grew stronger as she continued. We haven't destroyed these cultures. We've helped them evolve. Evolution is natural. Stagnation is death. Judge Linda Torres, Earth's top legal expert, presented the legal arguments. She was a serious woman who spoke with precision and authority. Honorable Assembly, Linda said, we must examine the facts without emotion. Humans have never violated any galactic law. We have never used force to change other species. We have never invaded or conquered anyone. All of our influence has come through voluntary interaction and the free exchange of ideas. She pulled up the Galactic Legal Code on her display. Article 7 clearly states that all sentient beings have the right to choose their own path of development. If other species choose to adopt human ideas or customs, that is their legal right. To punish humanity for this would require us to criminalize empathy itself. War Chief Grax slammed his fist on his speaking platform. Laws mean nothing if they destroy civilization itself. These humans may not use weapons, but they are conquering us all the same. Admiral Chris Parker, a veteran human military officer, stood to respond. He was a tough man with gray hair and steady eyes that had seen many battles. War Chief Grax, Chris said respectfully, I understand your concerns about conquest. I've, spent my life fighting real enemies. But humans aren't conquerors. We're explorers and friends. We don't want to rule anyone. We want to understand everyone. Understanding can be more dangerous than conquest, Grax replied. A conquered people can rebel. But people who are changed by ideas may never return to what they were. Is that necessarily bad? Asked Senator Morgan. The species that have changed seem happier than they were before. Their suicide rates have dropped. Their crime rates have decreased. Their creativity has increased. These don't sound like the results of a harmful invasion. Elder Zix spoke for the ancient hive mind species. His collective consciousness had been observing the debate with growing uncertainty. We have monitored the psychological effects of human contact on other species. The results are complex. While emotional satisfaction increases, so does unpredictability and independence. This could destabilize the social structures that have maintained peace for millennia. Philosopher King Elex of the oldest known species stood slowly. His ancient form commanded respect from every being in the chamber. I have lived for over 10,000 years and seen many threats to galactic peace. Wars, plagues, natural disasters. But I have never seen anything like what humans represent. The assembly fell silent, waiting for his wisdom. Humans, Ilex continued, represent something we have never encountered, the possibility of genuine change. For countless generations, our galaxy has been stable but static. We have maintained peace by avoiding growth. We have prevented war by preventing evolution. He looked around the chamber with ancient eyes. The question before us is not whether humans are dangerous. They are. The question is whether the danger of change is greater than the danger of stagnation. The debate continued for hours. Speaker after speaker presented arguments for and against humanity. Some feared the loss of traditional ways. Others welcomed the possibility of growth and development. Captain Troy Miller, a human explorer, was given the chance to make a final statement on behalf of his species. He was a young man with honest eyes and an earnest manner. Honored delegates, Troy said, we never asked to be special. We never wanted to change anyone. We just wanted to explore the galaxy and make friends. If our presence causes change, it's because people choose to change. We can't help being who we are any more than you can help being who you are. He paused, looking around at the hundreds of alien faces. All we ask is the chance to continue being ourselves, to explore, to learn, to help where we can. If that's too dangerous for the galaxy to accept, then maybe the galaxy isn't as peaceful as it claims to be. As the debate ended, Speaker Vorth called for a preliminary vote. The results were shocking. The assembly was completely deadlocked. Exactly 1/3 voted for integration, 1/3 for containment, and 1/3 for elimination. This has never happened before, Vorth announced. In 3,000 years of galactic government, we have never been so evenly divided on any issue. The deadlock revealed something important. The question of humanity had forced every species to examine their own values and beliefs about civilization, progress, and the meaning of peace. The galaxy was changing whether humans were contained or not, simply because the debate itself was making everyone think about things they had never questioned before. As the assembly recessed, delegates gathered in small groups to discuss what the deadlock meant. Many realized that the very fact they were having this debate proved that humans had already changed the galaxy in fundamental ways. The old certainties were gone, replaced by difficult questions that had no easy answers. The fate of humanity remained undecided, but one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. The Hall of Eternal Laws stood at the heart of Nexus Prime, a sacred place where only the most fundamental galactic legislation was created. Chief Justice Marin, the highest legal authority in the galaxy, had called an emergency session. The deadlocked vote in the assembly meant that the council needed to find a completely new solution to the human question. President Alex Johnson sat quietly in the waiting chamber. As the leader of Earth's government, he would soon learn the fate of his entire species. He was a steady man with graying hair and calm eyes, but inside he felt the weight of billions of human lives depending on what happened next. Ambassador Nina Foster paced nervously beside him. She had spent years building relationships with alien species, and now all of that work might be for nothing. "What do you think they'll decide?" she asked. "I don't know," Alex replied honestly. "But whatever happens, we'll face it together. That's what humans do." In the main chamber, Chief Justice Marin studied the reports and evidence that had been gathered over months of investigation. She was an ancient being whose species had helped create the galactic legal system thousands of years ago. Her wisdom was respected by every member species. "The problem," she announced to the assembled justices, "is that all three proposed solutions are fundamentally flawed. Integration assumes humans can be controlled. Containment assumes they can be isolated. Elimination assumes they can be removed. But the evidence shows that human influence cannot be stopped by any of these methods." Elder Scribe Yith, the keeper of galactic law, nodded his agreement. His long fingers traced through the legal documents as he spoke. "The humans have shown us something we never considered when we wrote our laws. They have revealed that our entire understanding of civilization may be incomplete." Captain Troy Miller was brought in to give final testimony. He had been chosen because his exploration missions had made contact with more alien species than any other human. He entered the chamber with the same honest manner that had impressed the assembly. "Captain Miller," Chief Justice Marin began, "we need to understand something. In your travels, you have encountered 17 different species. In every case, those species underwent significant cultural changes after meeting you. How do you explain this?" Troy thought carefully before answering. "Your Honor, I think it's because most species have been alone for so long that they forgot they had choices. When they meet humans, they see different ways of thinking and living. Some of them decide they want to try new things. But these changes are happening faster than ever before in galactic history," pointed out Elder Scribe Yith. "Entire civilizations are transforming in decades instead of centuries." "Maybe that's because they were ready to change," Troy suggested. "Maybe they were just waiting for someone to show them it was possible." Chief Justice Marin asked the question that would determine humanity's fate. "Captain Miller, 3 months ago you visited the dying world of Terminus 7. The Ember people there had lost the ability to feel joy or wonder. Their civilization was slowly fading away. Tell us what happened." Troy's face grew serious as he remembered that mission. "The Ember people were the saddest beings I'd ever met. They told me their emotions had been slowly disappearing for generations. They couldn't create art anymore. They couldn't feel excitement about anything. They were just existing, waiting to die." "What did you do?" asked the Chief Justice. "I shared memories with them," Troy said simply. "I told them stories about Earth, about human adventures and discoveries. I showed them pictures of our art and music. I tried to help them remember what wonder felt like." "And the result?" Troy smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. They started to feel again. Not human emotions, but their own emotions that they thought they had lost forever. Within weeks, they were creating new forms of art and music. They were exploring their world with fresh eyes. They were alive again in ways they hadn't been for centuries. The justices exchanged meaningful looks. This was the most important piece of evidence they had heard. Chief Justice Marin made her decision. Based on all the evidence presented, she announced, "This court has reached a conclusion. The human species represents something unprecedented in galactic history. They possess abilities that cannot be contained, controlled, or eliminated without destroying the very freedoms our civilization claims to protect." She stood and activated the holographic display that would broadcast her words across the galaxy. "Therefore, we are creating a new category of galactic law. The Human Protection Act establishes that humans are to be considered a critical species, one whose unique traits are deemed essential to galactic development." President Johnson and Ambassador Foster were brought into the chamber to hear the decision. Alex felt his heart racing as the Chief Justice continued. This law establishes several principles. First, humans cannot be forced to suppress their emotional nature or their tendency to form connections with other species. Second, human colonies cannot be restricted from accepting alien immigrants who choose to live among them. Third, humans are granted diplomatic immunity in any situation involving interspecies conflict, as their unique perspective may be essential to finding peaceful solutions. But most importantly, Chief Justice Marin continued, this law recognizes that human empathy and emotional intelligence are not threats to be contained, but gifts to be protected. The evidence shows that human contact consistently results in increased creativity, reduced violence, and greater satisfaction among other species. Elder Scribe Yith stepped forward with the formal documents. The Human Protection Act also establishes humanity as the official mediators for interspecies conflicts. Your ability to understand and connect with different forms of consciousness makes you uniquely qualified to help resolve disputes. President Johnson stood to respond. Chief Justice Marin, we are honored by this decision, but we must ask why. Why protect us when so many species fear what we represent? The Chief Justice's ancient eyes showed something like warmth. Because Captain Miller's experience on Terminus 7 revealed the truth we have been avoiding. Our galaxy has been slowly dying, just like the Ember people. We have been so focused on maintaining order that we forgot how to grow. We have been so afraid of conflict that we stopped taking risks. We have been so committed to stability that we achieved stagnation. She gestured to the assembled justices, representing dozens of different species. The humans have shown us that growth and change are not enemies of peace. They are essential to life itself. Without the ability to evolve and adapt, civilizations eventually fade away, no matter how stable they appear. The law passes by unanimous vote, announced Elder Scribe Yith. Humanity is now under the protection of the Galactic Coalition, not because they are feared, but because they are irreplaceable. As news of the decision spread across the galaxy, reactions were mixed but generally positive. Many species that had been changed by human contact celebrated the decision. Even some who had opposed humanity recognized the wisdom of the choice. 6 months later, President Johnson addressed the people of Earth from the Capitol building in Geneva. Behind him stood representatives from 20 different alien species who had chosen to make Earth their home. My fellow humans, he began, we have been granted not just protection but responsibility. We are now the official guardians of galactic diversity and creativity. Our job is to help ensure that the galaxy continues to grow and evolve rather than stagnate in rigid order. He looked at the alien representatives behind him, each one a reminder of humanity's unique gift. We didn't ask for this role, but we will fulfill it with the same empathy and understanding that brought us here. We will continue to be ourselves, curious, caring, and committed to helping others reach their potential. The galaxy is changing, President Johnson concluded, and we are privileged to be part of that change. Together with our alien friends, we will build a future where every species can thrive and grow. As the speech ended, humans across Earth and throughout the galaxy felt a new sense of purpose. They were no longer just explorers or settlers. They were the guardians of wonder itself. Protectors of the spark that keeps civilizations alive and growing. The law that made humans untouchable was not born from fear of human power, but from recognition of human value. In a galaxy that had forgotten how to dream, humanity had reminded everyone what was possible when different beings worked together with understanding and compassion. The greatest protection was not a shield or weapon, but the simple recognition that some gifts are too precious to lose.